Welcome to Season 4, Episode 25 of Workers Comp Unwrapped, with your host, Aneeq and Angela as our guest. Today, we're looking back at the biggest workers' compensation billing trends that have shaped 2026 so far. We'll review the key developments impacting providers, discuss the challenges and opportunities emerging across the industry, and explore what organizations should be preparing for as we move into Q3 and Q4. Let me just ask you a question right out of the gate.
Sure.
Do you feel like you are doing absolutely everything right in your practice? Like crossing every T, dotting every single I, and yet you're somehow still getting paid like it's 1998?
Oh, absolutely. The frustration across the industry right now is it's palpable. You have providers running these highly advanced clinical operations, right? But they are being dragged down by this administrative gravity that feels heavier than it ever has before.
It's exhausting just watching it happen.
It really is. But, the biggest story of 2026 isn't some shiny new regulation, you know? It's not a massive piece of legislation or a single controversial policy change. The real narrative driving this year is just the grueling, everyday demand for operational excellence.
Yeah, the daily grind.
Exactly. The mundane, day-to-day administrative grind has quietly become the ultimate make-or-break factor for medical practices today.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to start right at the front lines of what feels like a modern billing war.
It really is a war out there.
Right. And in workers' comp, that front line is getting authorization. Like, if you don't win the battle of the RFA, the request for authorization, nothing else matters. You cannot even get on the field.
No, you're benched before the game even starts.
Exactly. And from what we're seeing across our sources for this deep dive, it feels like carriers have just universally decided they are no longer willing to do a single ounce of detective work to piece a file together.
Yeah, they are completely done with that. In the past, there was sort of a baseline level of grace built into the system.
A little bit of leeway.
Right. Like if a reviewer could generally infer what was going on based on standard care pathways or, if they had a previous file from that same patient, they could just pull up and reference quickly.
They might just let it slide.
Yeah, they might let a slightly incomplete RFA slide through to approval, but that era is completely over.
Dead and gone.
Oh, 100%. Today, reviewers demand a fully complete clinical picture up front, just handed to them on a silver platter.
Wow.
You have to hand them the comprehensive treatment history, the objective clinical findings, the medical necessity justification, and the specific state guideline support all at once.
It really highlights how pristine documentation is now treated with the exact same level of gravity as the clinical care itself.
It's essentially half the job now.
Which is a tough pill for a lot of dedicated medical professionals to swallow, right? They want to treat patients, not push paper.
Of course.
But the fatal mistake I see providers making is operating under the assumption that the person reviewing the file already understands the patient's ongoing situation.
They absolutely don't.
Right. Submitting an incomplete RFA today is like walking into a movie an hour late, sitting down next to a total stranger, and just expecting them to pause the film to explain the entire plot to you.
Yeah, the character arcs, the hidden motivations, all of it.
Exactly. They're not going to do it.
No, the reviewer is that stranger in the theater. And frankly, they are incentivized to just have the usher kick you out of the building rather than explain the plot.
That's a great way to put it.
The file just has to stand entirely on its own. If a piece of the story is missing from the submitted documentation, well, as far as the payer is concerned, it simply never happened.
I am going to push back on this for a second, though.
Okay, go for it.
Because I know what you, the listener, might be thinking right now. The only justification I can see for holding a file up over like a single missing checkbox is that carriers are using this incomplete documentation standard as a convenient systemic gotcha tactic.
A gotcha tactic.
Yeah. It feels like an artificial stalling mechanism, just designed to manage their own cash flow, keep hold of their reserves longer, and avoid paying out on legitimate claims.
Well, what's fascinating here is that it raises a really important question about the underlying mechanics.
Okay.
Is cost management a massive priority for carriers? Absolutely, yes. But the reality of how this is actually happening is largely driven by a massive leap forward in payer technology.
Wait, so it's not just adjusters being difficult?
No, not at all. Carriers aren't relying on human adjusters sitting in a dark room maliciously twirling their mustaches, hunting for a reason to say no.
That is the mental image a lot of us have, though.
I know, but it's just not accurate anymore.
Yeah.
They have deployed incredibly sophisticated natural language processing engines, NLP.
The AI bots.
Exactly. These algorithms just instantly scan a physician's unstructured narrative notes, extract the key data points, and then automatically map them against medical treatment guidelines like MTUS or ODG.
So it's literally just a machine instantly flagging that field number 42 is empty or whatever.
Precisely. Or that the objective findings in the text block don't perfectly align with the requested treatment code algorithm.
Wow.
The technology has basically made it entirely frictionless for carriers to enforce their rules to the absolute letter. The algorithm requires specific data pairings.
And if you don't have them?
If your documentation doesn't feed the machine exactly what it has been programmed to ingest, the system just automatically rejects it before a human ever even lays eyes on it.
That's wild.
It's an instantaneous, zero-cost denial on their end.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's say your practice navigates that algorithmic minefield flawlessly.
Okay, you run the gauntlet.
Right. You provide the perfect clinical picture.
Yeah.
You cite the guidelines. You win the RFA battle.
Yeah.
You get the golden ticket, the approval.
Best feeling in the world.
You perform the treatment.
Okay.
But then you move to the payment phase and you realize the approval was just an illusion.
Oh, yeah. The money still isn't in your bank account 30, 60, or even 90 days later.
Which is insane.
The distance between approved and paid has become this massive, unpredictable slog. Payment timelines are stretching out significantly compared to previous years.
It's creating a brutal environment for cash flow management.
Brutal is the right word for it.
Think about the sheer absurdity of this from the perspective of literally any other industry.
Oh, it makes no sense anywhere else.
It's like being approved for a mortgage, signing the closing papers, and being handed the keys to your new house.
Right.
But then, every single time you try to unlock the front door to go inside, the bank makes you verify your identity, provide a blood sample, and, I don't know, verbally state your favorite color to a security camera.
And if you say navy blue instead of dark blue, the deadbolt stays locked for another 30 days while your file goes to a committee.
Yes, exactly.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are seeing a labyrinth of hidden checkpoints being erected between the authorization of a treatment and the actual release of the funds.
Let's put a tangible scenario on this to show how this breaks down in practice.
Sure.
Say a clinic gets an RFA approved for a standard lumbar MRI. They bring the patient in, they run the scan, read the results, and submit the bill.
Standard stuff.
Right. Why isn't that just an automatic check in the mail at this point?
Because approval no longer guarantees payment without friction. After the MRI is performed and the bill is submitted, the claim just gets routed right through these expanded auditing processes.
More audits.
Always more audits. There are post-treatment prepayment verification requirements now. The payers use this window to conduct aggressive utilization reviews.
Playing backwards.
Exactly. They look backwards to ensure the treatment provided matched the exact parameters of what was authorized.
So they're hunting for discrepancies.
They are scanning for any minor upcoding error. For instance, a scenario where a provider might accidentally bill for a 45-minute complex consultation code, but the clinical notes only support a standard 15-minute check-in.
I mean, if we look at the financial consequences for the provider, this is devastating.
It really is.
If you don't know whether a $5,000 claim is going to clear your bank account in 30 days or 140 days, you suddenly need massive cash reserves.
Which most clinics just don't have sitting around.
Right. So clinics are being forced to draw on lines of credit at high interest rates just to make their payroll, while simultaneously waiting for a fully approved claim to finally pay out.
And the profound downstream effect of this unpredictable payment cycle is that it forces medical facilities to act like financial institutions.
Wow.
You are suddenly managing risk, floating capital, and forecasting cash flows with highly volatile, unreliable data.
That is the specialized job of a bank, not an orthopedic clinic.
Exactly. But that is the harsh reality of the 2026 billing landscape. The payers are just terrified of paying out a single cent they aren't legally obligated to pay, so they hold the capital until they're absolutely certain.
Which naturally brings us to the industry's inevitable response.
The pushback.
Right. Human effort alone just cannot beat these delayed cycles and algorithmic audits anymore. A clinic manager cannot just hire 5 more administrative assistants and expect to out paperwork an NLP engine that reads 10,000 pages a second.
No, it's mathematically impossible.
The industry is fighting machines with machines. We have entered a full-blown tech arms race.
The acceleration of technology adoption in the first half of this year is unprecedented. We have definitively crossed a major threshold here.
It's everywhere now.
Healthcare providers are no longer just experimenting with tech. They have moved way past running little pilot programs in the corner of the billing office.
Yeah, those days are over.
We are seeing wide-scale, aggressive implementation of AI-assisted documentation workflows, total operational automation, and incredibly robust analytics platforms.
Let's look at denial management for a second, because that dynamic has fundamentally shifted.
Oh, completely.
A few years ago, managing denials was basically a frustrating, never-ending game of bailing water out of a leaky boat.
That's a perfect analogy.
A denial comes in, a biller spends an hour writing an appeal and throws it back over the fence. Then another denial comes in, they write another appeal. It was an entirely reactive grind.
Providers were just fighting fires one by one, treating every single denial as an isolated incident.
Right.
But with the new analytics platforms being deployed, providers are essentially pulling the boat out of the water and finally patching the hull.
Getting to the root of the problem.
Exactly. They are analyzing denials in aggregate to pinpoint the root causes. If 50 claims over a 2-month period are denied for the exact same obscure coding mismatch or missing modifier, well, the software flags the mathematical pattern.
So the provider can fix the workflow at the very beginning, like at the intake level, to prevent that specific denial from ever happening again.
That proactive shift is the critical weapon here. The analytics tools allow providers to essentially pre-audit themselves.
Pre-audit, I like that.
Yeah, they use software to run the exact same rule checks that the payer's AI will run, ensuring that their documentation acts as a fortified, impenetrable shield before the bill is ever officially submitted.
I have to play devil's advocate here, though.
Oh, here we go.
Because this is a common and, frankly, valid frustration I hear when talking to practice managers. Isn't all this new software just creating more administrative bloat on the provider side?
It's a fair question.
We complain about the administrative burden imposed by the payers, and our brilliant solution is to buy expensive, complex software that requires staff training, constant maintenance, and massive IT integration.
I hear that constantly.
It feels like buying a $10,000 smart fridge that requires a mandatory software update and a dedicated Wi-Fi connection just to dispense a single ice cube, when all you actually needed was a basic freezer.
That is painfully accurate for some clinics.
So are we just buying expensive AI band-aids instead of fixing a fundamentally broken system?
That is a very real danger. Technology for the sake of technology is a massive trap. If a clinic is just purchasing the newest AI overlay because it has a flashy executive dashboard and promises the moon, they're absolutely going to add bloat, confuse their staff, and waste capital.
Just burning money.
The only technological tools actually driving success in 2026 are those that solve hyper-specific workflow frictions.
So it has to have a clear, targeted purpose.
Exactly. If a tool doesn't directly force the creation of more consistent clinical documentation, or if it doesn't directly reduce the friction of compiling an RFA, it is basically useless.
Yeah.
The goal is not to build a futuristic, high-tech office. The goal is to enforce absolute consistency. Consistency is really the only shield that holds up against the current automated level of payer oversight.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, we understand the battlefield now.
Right. We see the algorithmic RFA scrutiny, the massive payment delays, the tech arms race. How do you actually survive and potentially even thrive as we head into the second half of 2026?
That's the big question.
What is the strategic survival guide for Q3 and Q4? Let's start with the baseline expectations.
The baseline expectation is that the pressure on RFAs is not going to ease up.
Not at all.
It will not magically get easier after Labor Day. Expect continued extreme pressure on utilization reviews.
Okay, so brace for impact.
But the most significant shift we anticipate for Q3 and Q4 is a massive industry-wide focus on measurable treatment outcomes.
Measurable. When you say measurable, I assume you mean we are completely past the days of a physician jotting down a subjective note like, patient reports feeling 20% better today.
Oh, absolutely. Those subjective notes are going to trigger immediate rejections for continued care.
Instant denials.
Payers are demanding quantifiable, objective evidence of clinical results. They want to see specific goniometer readings showing a 15-degree increase in cervical range of motion.
Hard numbers.
Exactly. They want to see dynamometer tests proving quantifiable grip strength improvements. They want documented, specific functional milestones achieved before they will even consider consider authorizing the next block of physical therapy or the next round of injections.
Wow.
Objective evidence of results is basically becoming a mandatory prerequisite for ongoing care.
And the scrutiny levels are escalating because the payers are constantly feeding more data into their analytics engines, right? Just making them smarter and more rigid.
Exactly. The AI is learning every day.
So the strategy for practice can't just be a list of vague goals. You have to lock down the foundational documentation, ensuring the clinical notes capture those objective measurements without fail.
The entire authorization workflow just has to be fortified. You must automate whatever data entry you can to completely remove the human error element.
Right, because one typo can ruin everything.
A dropped zero or a transposed date shouldn't be the reason a $50,000 surgery gets delayed by 3 months.
That is just tragic when it happens.
Furthermore, you cannot let denials sit in a drawer or a digital queue anymore. You have to actively monitor those trends and fix the operational leaks in real time.
It sounds almost disappointing in its simplicity.
It really does.
Like, there is no magic bullet here. The secret to winning in 2026 isn't some clever legal loophole, a secret backdoor billing code, or hiring a charismatic negotiator to call the adjusters.
No, none of that works anymore.
The secret is just doing the boring, highly detailed operational stuff flawlessly every single time.
It is entirely about executing the fundamentals with zero defects. Those who wait for the systemic problems to appear in Q3 and Q4 will just be too late to pivot.
Yeah, you can't be reactive.
If a practice waits until their cash flow completely dries up in October because their RFAs are suddenly getting kicked back en masse for a lack of objective measurements, well, they've already lost the year.
Game over.
Success in this hyper-scrutinized environment belongs exclusively to the proactive.
You have to fix the roof while the sun is shining, even if the sun feels a little obscured by an endless mountain of administrative red tape.
That's a good way to look at it.
You have to build a machine within your own practice that is so efficient, so well documented, and so proactive that the payer's automated systems have absolutely no choice but to push your claims straight through to approval.
That is the reality of the landscape we are operating in. Weaponize your own operations before the payers weaponize their automated audits against you.
I love that.
Those who adapt their internal systems to meet this standard of perfection are going to find themselves in a very dominant, secure position as we close out the year.
Well, to summarize the ultimate lesson for everyone listening to this deep dive today, 2026 isn't about reacting to a single new law or an isolated shift in policy.
Right.
It is about weaponizing operational excellence, so you aren't left at the mercy of highly unpredictable, algorithm-driven payers. It is a fascinating, if somewhat exhausting time to be navigating this industry.
Exhausting is definitely the word.
But it leaves me with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over as we wrap up.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've spent this entire time talking about how carriers are using incredibly advanced AI and natural language processing to scrutinize documentation and deny claims instantly, right?
Yes.
And in response, medical providers are spending massive amounts of their own capital buying their own AI software to write perfect documentation, pre-audit their files, and automatically fight those payer denials.
It's a cycle.
So, and really think about this, how long until the entire workers' comp system is literally just two advanced algorithms angrily arguing with each other in the cloud over a highly specific billing code modifier, while the actual injured patient just sits indefinitely in a waiting room reading a 5-year-old magazine?
Honestly, looking at the rapid trajectory of this technological arms race, we might not be as far off from that reality as any of us would like to think.
Something to keep you up at night, or at least keep you hyper-focused on getting your documentation right tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the 2026 billing landscape. Keep fighting the good fight, keep those workflows incredibly tight, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to Workers Comp Unwrapped. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe and share with fellow doctors. Stay informed and keep making a difference in your patient's care.